Let's jump right into this explainer. Right now, there is a startling paradox unfolding inside mature bodies. A visible, steady loss of physical structure, even if you're drinking plenty of plain water. This isn't just some cosmetic issue. We're talking about a profound physiological shift. You might be downing glass after glass, yet silently watching your body's architecture essentially collapse. Today, we're going to decode this biological roadblock known as cellular dehydration, and exactly which molecular additions you need to override it. So you've got to wonder, why does plain water fail to hydrate mature tissues? Well, it comes down to a really fascinating medical mystery. You can actually be macroscopically hydrated, but microscopically starved. See, in youth, plain water acts as this highly efficient delivery system, but in mature tissues, it often just passes right through. It completely fails to trigger the deep cellular repair your structural scaffolding desperately needs to survive. 42%. Just think about that number. That's the massive drop mature bodies experience in their inherent ability to absorb and retain cellular moisture. So even if you're faithfully chugging your 8 glasses a day, nearly half of that hydration is literally lost before it ever reaches the deep structural tissues that actually rely on it. This severe biological roadblock is what we call cellular dehydration. Basically, it happens when your microscopic blood vessels become constricted and sluggish. Honestly, it doesn't matter how much plain water you consume. If those internal pathways are shut down, the moisture simply cannot enter the cells to maintain your internal architecture. And this triggers a dark, sequential reality of physical decline. First, your microcirculation slows to an absolute crawl. Because of this, vital nutrients completely fail to reach your structural tissues. Starved of those nutrients, the cellular factories that actually build collagen, your fibroblasts, they just fall completely dormant. And finally, without that new collagen being produced, the body's physical scaffolding just collapses. Which leaves us with a stark biological binary. Relying on plain water is just an outdated paradigm. Sure, it keeps your macroscopic organs functioning, but it flushes out way too quickly for any kind of deep tissue repair. Enhanced water, on the other hand, acts like a highly targeted medical delivery system. It uses precise molecular additions to literally force closed pathways open. To quote the clinical reality here, plain water alone is one of the least efficient ways to keep your skin firm. If you're relying strictly on plain water to protect mature tissues, you are fighting a losing battle against cellular physics. We absolutely have to fundamentally change the composition of the water itself. Section 1. Activating the delivery system. To override this roadblock, we have to deploy some specific biochemical keys. Just look at the mechanisms of action here. Beetroot extract builds the signaling molecules needed to open blood vessels. Citrulline acts as this dedicated transporter, carrying collagen straight into the deep dermis. And fresh lemon zest radically activates cellular absorption. Working together, they completely restart a stalled system. Now, the absolute master signal in this entire process is nitric oxide. Think of it as an invisible messenger that instructs microscopic capillaries to dilate, flooding your deep tissues with oxygen and nutrients. Beetroot provides the dietary nitrates to forcefully rebuild this supply, essentially turning sluggish, blocked pathways into open, flowing rivers. And this is exactly why those ridiculously expensive topical treatments totally fail. You just can't fix structural decline from the outside. As the science dictates, collagen only reaches the skin if your blood actually possesses the ability to effectively carry it from within. Moving on to Section 2. Rebuilding the internal scaffolding. Opening the pathways is really only step 1. Now we've got to deploy the structural builders. Food-grade silica acts as your tough structural backbone. Bovine collagen peptides, which you want to dissolve in warm water on an empty stomach, provide the actual raw building blocks. And then pine bark extract steps in to actively repair the fragile inner linings of the arteries that are carrying these very materials. We also have to override what scientists call fibroblast fatigue. By soaking the actual peel of a lemon in your water, you extract a powerful compound called hesperidin. This acts like a chemical alarm clock. It violently shakes dormant cells awake and commands them to resume structural repair. Section 3. Shielding structural tissues. Because look, rebuilding is utterly useless if the scaffolding is just immediately destroyed from within. Enter MMP1 enzymes. These guys are basically an aggressive biological demolition crew. In mature tissues, they actively hunt down and degrade your collagen fibers much faster than you can naturally replace them. So we counter this with molecular protectors. Pomegranate polyphenols come in and form an unbreakable biological shield against those MMP1 demolition enzymes. Meanwhile, molecular hydrogen penetrates directly into the cells to neutralize the hydroxyl radical, which is arguably the most destructive free radical driving structural aging. 54%. Molecular hydrogen water alone can drop oxidative stress markers by this staggering amount. To put that into perspective, you are literally cutting the rate of microscopic destruction in half. It is a dramatic, powerful stabilization of your cellular integrity. Section 4. The Molecular Override Protocol. If we want to achieve long-term integrity, we have to target the actual cellular blueprint. At the very end of your chromosomes, you have these protective caps called telomeres. As time goes on, they start to fray. Well, astragalus root contains a very precise compound that activates telomerase, an enzyme that physically rebuilds those frayed caps, overriding physical decline at the deepest possible level. So here is the complete molecular override blueprint. It neutralizes those toxic inflammatory zombie cells. It rebuilds protective telomeres. And when you pair it synergistically with omega-3 fatty acids, this protocol creates a deeply protected cellular environment that can actually reverse deep aging markers in just 3 to 6 months. Section 5. The Long-Term Sustenance Protocol. Surviving cellular dehydration isn't a one-and-done deal. It requires a really disciplined, ongoing clinical strategy. Warm water is absolutely critical here, mostly because cold water forcefully shuts down your microcirculation. By combining warm water with the natural nitrates found in leafy greens, you're ensuring a steady, continuous supply of micronourishment for overnight repair. Listen, structural decline is not an inevitability. Like the old clinical adage goes, the body, given the right raw materials and the right conditions, always moves toward repair. Your cellular machinery isn't broken. It's simply starved. If you provide these high-value molecular additions, your body will relentlessly move toward restoration. So I'll leave you with this. The choice to override cellular dehydration literally starts with your very next glass of water. You now possess the exact biological blueprint to force open those closed pathways and reconstruct your internal scaffolding. Are you going to let your next glass simply pass right through? Or will you use it as the molecular key to bring your tissues back to life?